Hello, David Clarke here from DVC Training, and this is just a quick video on my follow-up for what do you do with a computer that can't run Windows 11. So this particular computer, which runs perfectly well on Windows 10, can't run Windows 11, which is annoying because it's a perfectly good computer. It's just a few years old. It's a 7th generation processor, it's a laptop, 32 gigabytes of RAM. Like I said in my previous article, what am I going to do with this come October? Because I can't not have it on the internet. I use it a lot. So what am I going to do about it? One of the things I said you could do is you could put Windows 11 on it anyway. I know Microsoft say it's not officially supported, and you can't just do it simply by telling Microsoft to upgrade it. What you actually have to do is you have to download the Windows 11 ISO from Microsoft, use Rufus to make up a USB pen which bypasses the requirement for the bits of hardware Microsoft insists you have, and then you install it. So I reckoned it was a bad idea, but I thought I'd try it anyway. So here we are, my laptop, which is running on Windows 11. And as you can see, I have got things like Edius on here, which is working. I've got Affinity, I've got Resolve. Actually, pretty much all the programs that I've put on there have been working fine. So far, so good. I have also installed some of the actual programs that came with the laptop that do things like regulate the fan speed or control the colors on the keyboard. There are some things though. If you look at Microsoft Windows Security, there is this device security thing, which it wants to turn your memory integrity on, and it won't let me because it doesn't have the right kind of drivers. How bad is that? I don't know, but it is something wrong. But I've also had other little niggles. For example, when I plug the laptop in and I put two other screens into the back of it, because I like to use normal screens on top of the laptop when it's just sitting on a desk, sometimes it won't go into Windows. It gets all the way to login screen and then it stops. I do, for example, remote control my system sometimes from another location or from another computer in the house, and that doesn't work sometimes. So I've had lots of little niggly problems which I don't get when it's on Windows 10. Here you can see, pop into Resolve. I have got a project here which has actually got 150 hours worth of stuff inside of it in lots of different bins. This is one where I've gone through and catalogued a whole bunch of footage. Lots and lots of stuff. It's all working fine. But will I carry on using it like this? When Windows 10 support dies, will I actually switch over to this? I don't think so. It's just those little niggles. It's the things like, oh, there's a security thing I can't install, so am I protected or am I not protected? The whole point of not using Windows 10 after the end of October is for extra security. After the end of October, there's no updates, and therefore it's more possible that you might get hacked because somebody will find a way in. And the longer you get away from October 2025, the worse chance is going to be. I'm doing this for extra security, and the fact that some of the security stuff doesn't work, and of course won't work because it's not meant to be running on here, that makes me worry. So am I just changing one possible security thing for another, which I'll never get an answer to that because Microsoft aren't going to tell me because they don't want me to run this. And then there's those other little niggles. Is that because I'm using the wrong Windows? It's enough to make me think, no, it's not worth the aggro. But I did mention it was possible, so I thought, why not do a little follow-up video telling you what my experiences have been. Now, the other alternative that I suggested in my video is to use Linux. So instead of using Windows, use a totally different operating system. I've been using that now for a couple of months, so how's that been going? Well, at the end of the day, working really well for the stuff that works on it. But I can't get some of the stuff that I want to use working on Linux, so it's not really a proper solution, unfortunately. I want to edit video, and I use programs like Edius, and sometimes even the Adobe stuff. None of that will work on Linux. It's not designed for it. There is a thing in Linux called Wine, which some people say you can run Windows programs on. I tried it, failed. I've tried different versions of Linux, so I've tried Linux Mint, Linux Ubuntu, and Linux Zorin. This one here is Zorin. Zorin in particular says in its stuff, oh, we've got stuff that can run PC programs. You just tick on this, which is this Wine thing. But no, it didn't work for the video stuff. It didn't work for Affinity Photo, which is what I use for my photographs most of the time. So unfortunately, yeah, it's working really well. I think actually everything works a little bit better under Linux. I think it's a bit snappier. My emails are a bit snappier. Just browsing files a bit better. So yeah, works, but the actual programs I want to use don't. And if the programs I want to use don't, unfortunately, it's not a solution. One program that will work under Linux is Resolve, so I have got that installed. My last video did link to somebody who done a video about how to install it, because this particular version of Linux is not the one that Blackmagic support, but there's a way of getting it working. And most of it seems to work fine once you do that. But here, you can see I've got Resolve Studio installed. I'm going to connect up to a database that I already have on the computer. So one of the things that actually I find quite annoying is I'm used to video D, video E, whatever. I'm used to a different drive with different letters. If I actually come into Resolve and I want to connect to a particular location, they're not D or E anymore. You have to dig through this crap and find it. It's in a folder called Mount. And then you have these descriptions here. So I have to work out which one's the D drive, which one's the E drive. Yep, that's not the D drive. I'm looking for the D drive. So slight irritations. Honestly, those are slight irritations. It's just a different way of working. It's actually the same way that it works on a Mac. So Windows is the odd one out. It's just I'm so used to Windows that's how I navigate around things, D's and E's and stuff. But once I can get the hang of it, I can connect to a database of projects which I've been using on Windows, and it's all there. And then once I go into Resolve it stuff, let me start off a new project. You'll find that it looks exactly like you're used to in the PC, but I have had odd little peculiarities, like there's a new AI thing in Resolve Studio 20 that requires that you download something extra. It's something where you can take somebody's voice, clone it, and then get it to say things they never said. Actually found that quite useful for just plain cleaning up dialogue. I'll do a recording of me and the dialogue is crap, so I'll take a clean recording of me and overlay it over the top and I'll get clean dialogue. To do that you have to go to the extras manager and then you have to bring in this AI voice training, and it fails, which other people on the forums have complained about. Probably be a solution for that. So little things like that are annoying. Bigger things are things like I want to bring in an MP4 file. So for a start, well, my other folders aren't listed there. I'm going to have to add them in. Let's go to the preferences and add them in, because I can't see, like on Windows, they would just turn up. On Linux, I've got to go and add in these folders. And it actually took me flipping ages to find out where these mount things are. Oh, and just out of interest, these drives don't load up automatically. You have to go into the settings and tell them to be there automatically. But once you've loaded those in, then I can browse through the media up here. And if I go to something where I've got an MP4 file, I'm going to drag that in, put it onto the timeline, and there's no sound. It loads MP4 file video, but it won't load MP4 file audio. It's a licensing thing. When you make an MP4 file, generally the picture is done in H.264 and the sound is done in AAC audio, and it doesn't load AAC audio. Now the solution to that is to convert that sound to something else. But like this recording that I'm doing, which is being done with OBS, I can't load that up into this program to edit until I convert the sound. Just make the sound a WAV file or something. But again, irritating. Come September, when I can't really use this laptop on Windows 10 anymore, and I'm not really happy with using it on Windows 11 despite being able to install it, what's my alternative? Probably the best option, buy a new laptop, which I don't really want to do because this one works and a new laptop's going to cost me at least £1,000. But I've got to put up with reality, not how I would like it to be. Also, if I'm switching between using a PC, because obviously my main computer is running on Windows 11 and that can run all the programs that I like to use, like Affinity and Topaz and so on, so I'm not going to switch that to Linux anytime soon. But if I try to switch this project between editing on here, so let's switch over to one of these, which is the stuff I'm currently working on. Now this is part of my silly Doctor Who film that you may or may not have seen. If this was Windows 10, most of my footage is on the D drive. It would have found it automatically, it would have linked to it, everything would be alive. But because Linux doesn't use D's and E's drives, it uses something else. I've now got to tell it where all this stuff is. It's easily doable, I can just find that somewhere, select all of these files and then say relink, and then point them to the right place. Yay, it's all alive again. Now, these ones down here aren't alive because I haven't linked to them yet, but I could quite happily go through and link to all of this. But then, of course, I save that project and then I put it back on my PC machine, and then they won't relink, so I then have to go through the process of relinking them. Literally because Windows does D and E drives and Linux doesn't. But honestly, that's probably my best solution. Here we are, looking for the minimize button. Where's the minimize button? Not Linux's fault, I'm just used to Windows. Where's the minimize button? Just click on that thing, it minimizes. Not Linux's fault, that's just Linux works differently to Windows. So just irritating to switch between the two. It's irritating that there are a few things that don't work on Linux, or that I have to find different ways. But yeah, my only real option on editing is going with this, because I can't use Edius, can't use Premiere. Could possibly use Lightworks, which I've occasionally opened up because they've got a Linux version. They've even got a free version, but Again, it means relearning something else. I could use one of the free ones that you can get with Linux, which have got lots of stuff in. I don't know if I can have the energy to learn another one when I'm only doing it because my laptop's a bit old. The other thing I can do, which I have been doing, is on Linux I can run various remote desktop solutions. This one is Chrome Remote Desktop, which I use a lot to connect between machines at home. As long as you've got the same Chrome account on different machines, you can use this to connect to them, and it's pretty good. Sounds slightly out of sync, but it's pretty good. And I can use that to remote control another machine. So here I have now got onto another machine, which is my desktop machine, which, as you can see, was installing something. But here I have got access to everything that's there: Resolve, Edius, Premiere, all the lot. I can edit on this machine via remote control from a Linux machine pretty easily. And there are other remote control solutions which you can use, all free, with Linux that will work with Windows, which I've been playing around with. I've been using a thing called Remina. If I've ever done a remote support session for you, I've probably used AnyDesk. You could use that. Loads of ways of doing it where you could actually then edit on another machine from a machine which has not got the up-to-date Windows on. Bing, there we are. You can see I've loaded up one of my Edius tutorial projects I worked on, and I can quite happily edit on that by remote control. So I'm actually editing on a different machine just using a Linux-based computer. And of course that machine's as powerful as it would normally be. So there are options, not as good as just being able to run Windows 11 on the laptop. And like I said, I actually find Linux itself, once I get used to the differences, mostly I find it to be just a bit nicer, a bit snappier than Windows. The bad side is that apart from Resolve, I can't use anything that I'm used to using, which is a shame. And it would be really, really nice if there would be a Linux version of Edius, or Premiere, or Topaz, which I do use Topaz a lot, or Affinity. Love to see Affinity on here, and there won't be. I don't really want to go to the effort of learning another program when I'm quite happily going to go and sit down on my Windows 11 desktop and just use the stuff I'm used to and that I know how to use. So I hope that helped. If you want to take an old machine and keep it alive and just use it for office stuff, you know, you've got LibreOffice, you've got email programs, you've got web browsing, I'd say definitely just stick Linux on it. It's just when you want to do specific stuff that you're used to doing on a PC, probably you can't do that on Linux. So I hope that gives you a bit of possible perspective on what you might want to do with an old computer. If you found this video useful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, that always helps. And of course don't forget to visit the website if you want some more information on stuff, www.dvctraining.co.uk, or email me. And I'll see you next time!